These two, they've just played so many great series throughout the year. They've just repeatedly run into each other. And unfortunately, they keep running into each other in, like, quarterfinals and stuff, so they don't even get to play each other in, like, the finals of things, because they're the ones knocking each other out earlier on in the tournament. We've seen long games, we've seen short games, we've seen drone pulls and ties. Let's see what the hell happens as we go into Glitter and Ashes Map 1 of this best of 7 grand final of the WardiTV Christmas Day Games. Bottom left corner, our red Zerg player. One half of the Zerg combo from Dragon Phoenix Gaming. It is Rogue. The other half of that combo is across to the top right-hand corner of the map. In the blue, it is Dark. As we enter the best of 7 grand finals. If you're watching this on YouTube, you know the buttons to press. Hit the like button, maybe subscribe to the channel. They should, in theory, go up the day before New Year's Eve. I will scare this, give this, or take this as a chance to say Happy New Year to everybody on the YouTube as well, because I don't know what video is going to go up on New Year's Eve, but it may not be one where I was thinking that, oh, this will go up on New Year's Eve. Let me say Happy New Year. So Happy New Year's in advance as well. Thank you so much for a wonderful 2021 here on YouTube. I really do appreciate it. But of course, we're live on Twitch as well right now. At least when this is being heard by you guys on Twitch. This is actually pre-recorded. And you know the dark magic of this tournament. We've probably talked about it 100 times at this point. Well, maybe not quite 100, but we have mentioned it a few times, that's for sure, as we get our hatch, gas, and a spawning pool underway in the early moments here. A few drones popping on out as we get this set up. And we get ourselves ready to play into map number 1 of this. I mean, big map. If we talk about Glitter and Ashes, it's a lot of the time a question of when the hell are we going to see the Spire? Because if someone's not making a Spire, people are probably doing this game wrong, or this map wrong, you know? So that's my first question. When is the Spire going to come into play? Who is going to play for the Spire, and who might try and play for the longer game? I think both of those are pretty reasonable questions, and I would love to find out some answers as the drone pulls off away to the side. Is going to drop down a hatchery here. And that's going to be going to 3 hatches pretty much straight away on the side of Rogue. No third hatchery set up just yet. Link speed is on the way from both. You see just a couple extra drones from Rogue, so a few more drones. He's actually got less gas in the bank as well, mining with less drones on gas too. So little factors here as 2 Lings on either side will start to skirmish in the middle of the map, and nothing too major. And there's the third hatchery from Rogue. So it was just, 10 seconds behind. He basically went 2 drones, then the hatch, whereas Dark went hatch and then 2 drones. Very minor difference overall. There's a couple more Lings coming up from Dark, so he actually will go into a setup now where he is currently down a drone because he went for the extra Lings. So, little differences. When you're playing at this level, little differences often do add up, but there's not too much to talk about in it yet. One thing I'm concerned for is it is just a couple drone lead for Rogue pretty much all the way throughout this so far, and maybe that can turn into some opportunity for him a little bit further down the line here. 5 drones on one side, 5 drones on the other. Zergling speed is building up from both. The few Lings are popping out actually from Rogue now, so he's making a few more units. A little bit unsure and just making sure he will be safe once the Ling speed kicks in. They're both going to go to the Baneling Nest. Rogue will be the first to drop down an Evolution Chamber, but Dark is obviously not far behind. Honestly, it's a pretty rare occasion you get to see even this much of a Korean ZvZ be so mirrored, and for these two to kind of be doing the exact same things. I do wonder where the divergence between the two players will come from. And I think a lot of it might come down to, again, when will one of them build the Spire, and when will one of them choose not to and choose to play the defensive position instead? In my eyes, that's when this could all change. As maybe with this as well, 18 Lings on the way up from Rogue. He's going to stop droning to apply a little bit of Ling Bane pressure. Bit of an off timing, right? 31 drones, all of a sudden, you just start your +1 missiles, and now he's like, oh, you know what? Yeah, Ling Bane's fun. Now Dark starts up a couple defensive Banelings, starts up his own round of Lings off 38 workers. His own Rotron is on the way too. That's something Rogue has not invested into yet. As those couple Lings getting a good little attack, and that's actually going to be a Baneling of Dark going down. He does have extras on the way. As Rogue, these couple of Banes from the left side are going to come waddling forward. We'll see exactly how he wants to approach this. He could waddle them and try and run by into the natural or so. As, a nice actual Baneling connection there from Dark. It's a lot of units trying to break down the Queen on the natural wall off, but that's not going to happen, so we just bring Banelings back around, and don't feel like Rogue is really getting that much done at all here. Now Banelings are being picked off by the Queen. A couple of them remain, but I do think we're pretty much at an end of this attack, and yet Rogue is still spamming Zerglings. I'm kind of shocked because it doesn't feel like he has any sort of an advantage to keep spamming Zerglings for. I don't really understand why he's still sending just so many Lings across the map. He really wants to get this queen. He's still 9 drones behind throughout all of this. He hasn't killed any workers. And now Rogue is down on army supply as Dark goes for the counterattack across down to the bottom left-hand corner. Dark comes back up, pulls it into the middle of the map, and just going to be seeing the lair of Rogue continuing to build as well. Additional drones all coming through. The extractor coming up. I mean, okay, Rogue starts to tech up here, and he just loses 7 drones in the main base, and Banelings over here connect. My goodness. Well, just as he was catching back up in drones, he loses them again, and now we're going to see Dark +1 missiles finishing, building roaches. Is he just going to go all out, all in? I mean, honestly, I feel like he could. He's up so much army supply, he could absolutely look to take down this 3rd hatchery on a counterattack. Needs to be careful of these Banes, of course, try and deal with those, and right now that is causing him a little bit of, Zergling losses. Last on a drone behind this is Dark. Looks like the roaches are not going to move across the map. They will not take that opportunity. Maybe Dark is shooting himself in the foot a little bit here. He's ahead on drones, but he's also not started his own lair. So now he's droning up without the future of tech ahead of him. His scout obviously reveals the lair on the way from Rogue, so Dark is now in the know, and I bet he wishes he had these roaches moving across the map. He could have had a hell of an attack underway right now. And instead, he chose not to go for it. Spire instantly from Rogue as well. Really just says, I want to get into the Mutalisks from here. And I don't blame him, because to Rogue's point of view, he probably feels like he's in a bit of trouble. He didn't achieve anything with the commitment of the attacker at all. And so where do we really stand? Well, we're pretty much just in a position where he's like, well, if I can survive to mutas, maybe I'm okay. But if it comes down to roaches versus roaches, I'm going to be outnumbered anyway. Big map might keep me somewhat safe, but yeah, I don't mind Rogue going for the Spire at all. I like the Spire on this map anyway. I can understand in, the game that's playing out right now, where that Spire becomes probably the best choice in your head as well. Try and jump onto that Queen, but no success there. Roach speed is going to be coming up from Rogue on the natural expansion as well, so getting that underway. Still waiting on the Spire from Rogue in the back of the natural. Waiting on that for the next few moments. A few roaches actually move out, so we're going to see the Ling Scout is good. Spire spotted, and Dark has the information he needs. Well, what were you going to do, Dark? What's the plan? At this stage, he could drop a Spire of his own, which would be kind of wild. He's actually just going to go into the Hydralisk Den, which is obviously the more kind of normal way of playing this. If you build a Spire of your own, you're looking to play Roach Corruptor, and that's a little bit too all-in. Especially on a map this size, I don't think it actually works very well. So seeing, a Hydra Den coming through makes a lot more sense. Frequently you see when someone plays Mutas, the other guy will play into Hydras and Infestors and just Queens, and obviously just play a much more defensive, slow-rolling game. Lungs get in and they pick off a creep teamer here. Yeah, I mean, kind of expected then for the Hydras to come up, and we'll just see how Dark plays it. Sometimes if you can get maxed on the Hydras soon enough, you can get across the map and maybe make a push for yourself, but we've seen it before on this map as well. I was trying to think, well, I casted with Rogue versus Dark. I feel like I was casting... I mean, I've casted a few of these ZvZs between these guys on... not even between these guys, but just with these guys against other players. And this map frequently goes into one of them playing a lot of mutas, one of them playing in towards the longer game, etc. too. And, basically playing the defensive side of this. I think Lambo Dog had a game like this on this map. I'm trying to think. Maybe casted Rogue against Serral a few times. And just some of the TSL matches, right? There's been so many tournaments on lately. I'm really racking my brain to think, and it's just not going to come to me. We casted a few ZvZs as... a few Mutalisks will make their way. Over to the right side, working on a hatchery there, which will be shot down in the next few moments, I would imagine. And I don't think there's any save in this, unless the Mutas can get pushed back by the Hydras in time. That's just about enough from the Mutas. Oh no, lose the drone. The Hydras just weren't there. A second sooner, and maybe you save it. Only 6 Mutas, by the way, so this is actually going to be from Rogue, not a lot of Mutas. He's just going to play into Roach Ravager behind this, and that typically means you're looking to force out something like Hydras and then go for a big maxed out attack of your own. Now, funnily enough, it's actually going to be Rogue that's going to be having Dark pushing towards him. I kind of like what Dark's done. He's only built 10 Hydras, so he's not gone overboard. So he has still a very strong front line of Roaches. these Hydras still provide, you know, good damage output. The only thing is, obviously, you'd rather have Ravages, but he will still have some Ravages as well, so I don't mind it at all for Dog to get aggressive. He has got a Carapace upgrade lead for a few moments. The +2s are slightly ahead for Rogue, but may not come into this fight if it happens right now. I do think Dog is expecting to morph Ravages before we engage, though, right? No? Well, I mean, obviously, morphing in Ravages is one of those things that costs supply, and I guess he's fully maxed out, so I suppose he can't, but I'm surprised that he didn't leave supply for it, as, you know, without your own Corrosive Vials, Rogue can really just fight as much as he wants. He's completely dominating the fight on the right side. The Muta's coming in just to help with that where possible, and now you're going to have this fight from Rogue come in from two angles, bottom left and bottom right. The first few Mutas trying to do what they can as well, just add damage onto the Hydras. Rogue microing them back and trying to keep them safe when he realizes that the Hydras will do too much. Good defense from Rogue, right? He's going to push this back, deal with this nicely. Dark is on the way to a Lurker Den behind this. As this is where Dark is really going to suffer. He's going to lose all of these Hydras. He won't be able to retreat with them, so they are basically just kills for Rogue, and that's where he will take a supply lead on the back end of this, having held this attack. It's going to be seen, I mean, now we're just going to jump on these last couple of Hydras. The Mutants will get rid of those. I'm just going to be seeing, I mean, still just basically pure Rogue, just dodge your own Corrosive Vials. One of them hit a Mutalist there. Fortunately, the Muta doesn't go down. But obviously, you don't want to be biling down your own units. Your opponent actually didn't make Ravages, so don't make it, you know, don't give him the benefits of having Biles, right? Don't stand in them. That's going to be seen. The few Mutalisks are going to pick their way through this Overlord. The Corrosive Bile is going to land as well. Overlord dies off. And our Roach Ravager Force kind of wanted to go right side. Is instead going to go left. You still have the Mutas here as Rogue, so you can still get a bit of information. You've still denied a lot of scouting information for Dark. Like, he doesn't see where this army is moving to until it steps on his creep, which is very limited as well, of course, in the world of ZvZ, where Mutas have been out. These Mutas do go down now as the Lurkers burrow up, and that is probably a sign for Rogue to back away. He doesn't have enough units to just storm in through the Lurkers. These bases, you know, there's only 3 bases at the moment, so it's a pretty choked up situation. Just not worth it, and it's probably going to extend the game because it means that Dark probably can't die here until Rogue has an answer to the Lurkers. Now, his answer to the Lurkers as he drops down the Infestation Pit is most likely going to be to move in towards Hive Tech and get up a few Vipers. I mean, you could argue Lurkers of your own, but even then, Lurker versus Lurker usually more so comes down to who has more Vipers and who gets more out of their Vipers. I don't mind fights like this. We're going to kill a Lurker in the front, for example, and yeah, I mean, it gets dangerous as more Lurkers burrow up as well. So, it is interesting because these Lurkers don't have Hive upgrades. Dark is just playing off less, so the Lurkers don't reach as far as usual, and so you can actually get a little bit more done here than what Rogue might be used to doing against Lurkers. He starts up Hive, and wow, of all things, Dark starts a Burrowing Tunneling Claws. He's going to play Burrowed Roaches off the back of these Lurkers. I find that very intriguing. To me, why would you not just, You know, I kind of feel you have to at least get the Lurker upgrades, no? Like, why would we not play into Hive from here, Dark? I feel like going Tunneling Claws and Burrow Roaches is something that was so, like, you know, to me that's like something that should happen in a different game, not this one. Not in the position that you're already in. That's when you're kind of stuck, Roach versus Roach, no one wants to tech out of it, and you want to try and become the aggressor in that situation and multitask your opponent. Or maybe Muta's on the map and you want to try and sneak some Roaches across, but when you're already on Lurkers, you want to try and start sneaking Roaches around the map, and like I say, this might be fine if he was rich and if he was playing maxed out and had all the other tech in the world, but why would you not want Hive and getting some of these Lurker upgrades? I mean, that feels like you're shooting yourself in the foot. As Rogue, he's going to play into his own Lurker Den. He's going to get his own Lurker upgrades. Then his Lurkers are just going to be rocking the house. But the Lurkers of Dark, I just do not get the decision to play Tunneling Claw Roaches. Let's see if they can make anything happen with those. Let's see if he finds any opportunities. I mean, maybe he will make me eat my words a few moments from now as these Roaches burrow across the map and change the game. Obviously, supplies are pretty even across the board. Rogue more workers, Dark more army. So all the usual effects that come out of that. As we cross the bar down, a squad of Overlords that are flying across down the bottom side. They're going to get that Overlord speed now, so that will become a little bit less painful as you see fights breaking out left and right. Looks like Rogue is starting to win both of those. Rogue has the extra carapace upgrade in these fights, by the way, so it does hold that advantage. There's a few more barrels coming down. Rogue just continue to take some hits. Another Hydralisk going down as well. And this army of Rogue continues to pull back up to the high ground. Far left-hand side, the Roaches and a couple of Ravagers continue to pick their way through. The Roaches of Dark as well continue to pick their way through that. I think this is just going to be pretty much... I mean, it's going to just be a trade out in a weird way. I mean, resources lost when you look at this is pretty even across the board. Remember, Rogue has been mining more, though. Oh, this is going to get interesting because these lurkers are now going to burrow up over here, but suddenly there's lurkers of Rogue, and so Dog didn't bring detection. Well, if you didn't bring detection, buddy, you're going to have a bad time as your lurkers are going to die, and, well, you can't clean up the lurkers of your opponents, so that didn't work out too well. That's definitely going to go a bit better in Rogue's favor, as I guess he still had to trade out with some other units to get those lurkers in position. And now it's lurkers versus no lurkers, or 4 against 1. I guess it's not super crazy in one way or the other. I'm really surprised not to have seen Vipers. I expected Rogue to basically get to Vipers ASAP off the back of the Hive. At least a couple, just so you could deal with the lurkers of his opponent, because, you know, if I'm Rogue, I'm expecting him to have the Hive Tech lurker upgrades by now as well. And yet he doesn't. This dog continues to send roaches here, there, and everywhere, trying to use this burrow play to get through. I mean, so far I would say this has not been a success and has not been a worthwhile investment. We get rid of one final roach up here. We'll fight the roaches on the back. There's obviously, I mean, it's going to keep Rogue back, I suppose, but... For what? I mean, what are we doing with this dock? You know, you're rallying more units around the map. Where are you going to try and take your lead off this? Like, it's not like you're going to kill off a mineral line and take a base lead. You're already behind on bases with how this game played out early. Now he starts the infestation bit. I mean, it feels like that's something that needed to be happening a long time ago as a backup plan to follow up from these burrowed roaches and so on. Don't get me wrong, they're probably going to deal some damage, and yeah, they're distracting Rogue, but what did any of that matter when you weren't moving forward with your own tech anyway? You know, now you're using it as a way to maybe start catching up on tech, and, well, I mean, there's a long way to go with that. A lot more time still to be bored as Rogue across the map going to trade out with a couple of those Hydras. They do get transfused. They do manage to push it back for the moment. Another little burrow through over here, as we do actually see the lurkers on this side going to burrow up, and this is going to be Dark. Maybe even just losing his 4th base. And if he loses his 4th base, remember that Rogue is on 5 bases, so you're now going to be talking about a two base difference in favor of Rogue. The supply is starting to take the lead. He starts +3 missiles. I mean, everything that we can see in this situation is just very, very good for Rogue. And, yeah, I mean, he might clean out these few lurkers here. Nope, they're going to go running, so they survive as well. Kind of funny, Rogue got adaptive talents, but he never got the seismic spine, so he's still missing the lurker range. What a unique little ZvZ we've had on our hands. I do think it's coming to a close, because I don't know if Dog can actually deal with the fact that Rogue continues to come across the map with a ton of units. It does look like it's going to be too much, and Rogue is going to win map number 1 of this best of 7. So Rogue comes out victorious. He's going to win the first game. Like I say, what a wild way to get to this sort of point. It was a really strange experience watching this. Of our grand finals, bottom right corner, 1-0 in the lead. It is from Dragon Phoenix Gaming Rogue. Bottom left-hand side, our Blue Zerg, also from Dragon Phoenix Gaming, is Dark, down by 1. And looking to win out here. Gas and a pool on the way over in the bottom right. Just gonna see aggression then from Rogue. Just before this kicks off, I do just want to say one thing before I forget next game or so. I just want to say how great it is to have Dark playing in a WardiTV event. I ask him all the time, and, you know, I ask Rogue a fair amount too, and Rogue usually says yes to most events. Dark, a lot of the time, as he gold bases, he does not say yes to a lot of events, but not for lack of trying. He always has something. He's like, oh, sorry, I want to focus on GSL, or I can't, I'm visiting my family, or my internet's not good right now. It feels like he always makes an excuse, right? But then every time he says, please invite me next time, I would love to play. And it's so nice that he was able to play in an event, because I've been dying to get him involved in more WardiTV stuff. And I know at first he wasn't a fan of crossover, but his internet improved and stuff. And like I say, he was always saying, like, every time I'd ask him, it was never, oh, no, thank you. You know, it was always super smiley face. Thank you so much for asking me. I would love to play next time. This time I just really can't. And yeah, just so happy to have him here this time. So let's go. In a way, I'm like, let's go, Dark. Made it to WardiTV events. Let's do this. I think this is a horrible situation for him, though, right? Taking the gold base against someone who is rushing Ling speed. It's going to be an extremely difficult defense from Dark, because wherever you try to mount your defense, Rogue can just go and attack the other direction. If you want to try and defend the gold, he'll attack into the main. If you're going to defend the main, well, there goes your gold. So not really a great situation in the slightest here, as Rogue obviously sees it's one base from Dark until he checks the gold, and then he sees, okay, cool. Now we know about that. These Lings kind of run up the ramp, but then they decide, no, we'll sit low ground. Obviously, Baneling Nest is going to be ready soon, and it looks as though Dark I mean, he'll probably just have to give up the gold base. In a weird way, I wonder where this turns into, right? Because a lot of the time when this happens, you're going to lose the hatchery on the low ground anyway, because you can't compete with the link speed. So if Dark loses the hatchery but can just defend his main base fully, it's honestly not that bad, and in a way maybe even good for him, because then he's not wasting a lot of units trying to defend this base, because he just accepts it's going to go down. Yeah, I'm very intrigued. Obviously, we do still have the Banelin's going to make an attack in. This way you question how much of a defense you can make. And you ask yourself, well, how much damage does Rogue need to do to be in a good position here? And I feel like he's doing a pretty good job of it so far. Finally, he finds something to smash those Balins into. And he will get a couple more low HP drones with the Lings as well. Okay, well, Dark ends up losing 6 workers. And yet here we are, still 2 workers up in the game. This is going to be the real issue. Rogue is already getting into his own gold base behind this, so... I do like that Dark went Link Speed early, because I think he knows that, obviously, if you just sort of play the slow game with Banes and then Link Speed, yes, that's better for immediately defending. However, then you don't have a lot of map control. And on a map with a gold base, that's going to be abusable. And you can see Rogue's already taken the gold. And what can Dark do about it? Well, nothing till Link Speed is done. Fortunately, that is right now. And Dark will go across the map with an army supply that doubles his opponent's. And these few Lings are unfortunate to get caught up there. I mean, they might see the run by, but I imagine they might have been the attempt to morph in Banelings across the other side. Obviously, we'll have to see Dark a little bit defensive. He does have the Spine Crawl and a Queen in the main. It is important for Dark to get rid of the gold, right? Because he's in a situation right now where he is obviously not really poised well to play a long game if this gold stays up and running, but it looks as though he's going to get it. There's just not the unit count here from Rogue unless he gets a really impressive Baneling hit, but there's even Banelings of Dark, of course, so... They're going to come through, chase around. We jump around a little bit. The Banes can... Ooh, well, got a little messy, but Dark gets there in the end. And now we've had both players, 4 minutes into the game, lose a gold base. It's just gold base massacre time right now. My goodness. Alright, plenty of Lings up through the top side. A couple of additional Banelings morphing in from Dark as well, so bringing those up. Lings run down the left-hand side. These few Lings continue to run around too. Baneling still waddling along. Go, Baneling, go! No, he can't reach it. Wow, I mean, like I say, these two really do give you pretty unique games, as Rogue is going to attempt to re-expand to the gold. Dark is going to go... Oh, actually, this is cool. He uses the Baneling to zone, and he actually is able to get himself a Queen kill, which is down in the low ground. Now, there's a Queen still in the main base. We're just going to dive for drones here. Good drone pull around, though. Makes it hard to target fire. Makes it hard to chase, and the drone does survive, the one that got low. Obviously, the question is, when does Dark re-expand? I mean, if he's going to expand now, it's going to be on his normal hatchery, in which case, well, he just saw the gold of his opponent. I think he's just going to expand on the natural, though. I think he's just going to accept that he has to do that. Or is he? Now he pulls back up into the high ground? What is the plan, Dark? He's going to be supply blocked in a moment as well, if he doesn't make an overlord sometime soon. Dark, what is our plan? Starts 4 more drones. Maybe he just didn't believe he could defend the low ground against these Zerglings, so he just pulled the drone back up until he knew he could defend the hatchery on the natural, and then comes down to obviously then take it, of course. That's kind of funky. Let's go straight down. A couple of Banes behind the mineral line there. More and more Zerglings continuing to come through. There's a lot of Lings going to come through the south side. Things kind of want to waddle forward as 2 trade with 2. Queen's pressing forward. Lings are going to get turned away. And, man, I mean, this is still just Rogue on a gold base finish. So at the end of the day, Rogue comes out with the advantage, I would say. Gold base versus no gold base. And it's not like Dark is really the aggressor on the map. Now, that's what's crazy to me. Rogue is containing Dark while he's the one with the gold. I do wonder what Dark does from here to try and bring this game back a little bit, because obviously a situation like this doesn't really bode well for you. Definitely feels like you're behind, right? So, let's see what happens. A single Queen is going to chip away at the Overlord, just push it down the right side. A couple of Lings from Dark will hop up to the natural and into the main base. They hang out on the edge of the creep spread, an evolution chamber dropping down towards the gold. I'm just going to see our Queen still just chipping away at this Overlord as well. It is taking some damage. And it's dead. I need more exciting things happening as Baneling's morphing and stuff, but I was emotionally invested into this Overlord's chase. I don't know why, as we do see the Queen backing up a little bit. Lings are coming around the top side of this from Dark. They're going to come in. A couple of Banelings already morphing, rallying to the front. Zergling's coming around. Carapace upgrade coming up from Rogue as well. And still just seeing the Ling Bane settling over on the right side. A couple more of those Banelings just going to finish morphing in as Dark comes through the south side of the map and figures out just where he wants to go, or what he wants to do. Rotron building up here as we do have a little Baneling connection on the high ground. And picked off. Rotron's coming in. Carapace upgrades coming in as well, by the way, guys. So that is going to be Rogue just playing into Carapace for his Roaches and basically Roach Ling. Well, Doc, what is the plan? What is the plan? I mean, we're down on drones trying to make Ling Bane work. I mean, there's a few Queens way off creep, but and a few shots off. I mean, if the Banes go up to this high ground, they're not really going to do much, so that's fine. I feel like, obviously, these Queens are working on getting the creep to connected up between the natural and the gold. If you do that, then I really feel like these Queens can walk around and just be the defense against the Banes as well that you're kind of looking for them to be, right? You know, Queens target firing down Banelings is just, you know, really part and parcel of the Ling Bane kind of phase of this game. Grab a circle. I'm going to go and jump on top of this hatchery. The other Lings come across, chasing away as well. Last dots up on the main base. So we do have a longer game, kind of, you know, longer term game plan here from Rogue. I mean, I just think Rogue's still ahead. He's still mining off the gold. The one thing about a gold is obviously it mines out faster than a normal base, so you might have to re-expand to a different third, faster than Darkwood, but I don't think it's really an issue. I mean, I think it's, for now at least, it's fine. It's an issue that's going to arise kind of further down the line, and by then you might just, you know, this game might not still be happening. Roaches are arriving. That was a good Baneling connection from Rogue as well. Feels like he's definitely getting the better end of these Bane shots as the Roach goes down. Queen's still target firing, and another Baneling gets picked off. These Lings still just getting chipped away at. Roaches are going to come back through, and this Spine Crawler now going to take a little bit of a beating. Firing and firing, Spine taking damage, the Queen coming through. You do just have the Roaches continue to fight this as the Baneling waddles forward. Oh my goodness, okay. Spine finally goes down, but that is obviously just about it for the moment. As the few Lings come around the right-hand side, they're going to get morphed into Bane, so maybe Dark can counter in. I mean, to be fair, this attack of Rogue then didn't really do much. Now, he still has a lair already up, so he's already up in tech. I guess Dark basically looks to almost all in himself now, although he is drawn, he starts up a lair, maybe realizes it wouldn't work. Well, even though Rogue committed to the attack and it was defended well, he's still just, like I say, ahead on that Roach Speed can start +2 missiles, so in theory, Rogue still just comes out of this on a lead. He obviously just expands up to 4 bases now eventually. Kind of funny when this base, then this base. So now he's going to be, like I say, you might have to expand faster because of this gold. Well, he's already going to be on all of the bases that Dark has and the gold on top of it. So, yeah, it's not really an issue. That's going to be the difference. Missiles versus, you know, Carapace, but now they're both going for the opposite side of that upgrade, so that evens out. And then I suppose, look at the fact that Rogue already has rush speed. Now, I said +2. I kind of forgot to myself that +1 Carapace was the initial upgrade. Obviously, it doesn't make sense to go +2 Carapace. So, yes, Rogue will go +1 missiles. And then +2 behind that. Of course, by then, Dark can start his own +2. Almost surprised that Dark goes for the +1 Carapace instead of +2 missiles when, you know, it's only like 30 seconds along and then the lair is done. So you could start +2, but I just wants it anyway in the end and says it's okay if the +2 isn't ready right away as the Roaches collect up and just going to move up this ramp. Spire is already dropping into the back of the third base. Again, that Spire up and rolling as Overlords continue to spread creep out the front here as well. Couple Queens get here, pushing this Overseer back. Additional Overlords all morphing in. +1 missiles coming through on the Evolution Chamber as well. And a Hydralisk Den from Dark back on the left-hand side. Is he going to try and sneak up to Lurkers? Or what is his... Oh, sorry, of course there's a Spire on the way, right? I just mentioned it. So, he's seen the Spire, or he's assuming the Spire. Wait, where's the Spire? There. Oh, wrong base. I clicked on the wrong base and looked behind, but he has seen the Spire. That's what I was trying to check for. So, yes, he's seen the Spire, so he puts the Hydra Den down. Rush up to Lurkers, Wardy. How about he's just scouring? Now, forgive me, guys. It's been a hectic Christmas period so far, trying to get these games sorted out and casted. Sometimes I might say something a bit silly, but that's okay. It's Christmas. You guys will forgive me, right? Or it's on YouTube. It's almost the new year. Yeah, well, New Year's resolution. Don't say silly things. Overseer just overhead. I mean, Dark hits a supply block. Honestly, I feel like we're 12.5 minutes in, and I'm still just on the rogue train. You know, I look at everything that's happening, and I look at the positions. You know, it's evened out a lot from where it was, but, you know, just as the numbers get higher, a lot of the smaller advantages early kind of dissipate a little bit. But then you think, well, this gold base still mining, top right coming online. I mean, I guess Dark is going to still benefit from the boosted economy of a gold. However, he's now going to try and mine from the gold base when Rogue has an active army on the map, which is larger because of the advantage he got set up for himself. And that means that it's going to be hard to keep drones mining here because Roaches can sit behind this mineral line and deny that mining. So that's kind of a huge deal as we see a couple of corrosive bars going down. Roaches dodging back and forth between each other. There we go. Just going to be seeing a few more Roaches getting hit by that. And again, the back and forth continuing right now as we are going to come back forwards. Another couple of bars. Roach Ravager dodges out of there. And still just splitting up to try and deal with this as we have got a couple of overlords on the south side while the Queens are continuing to push forward and try and do something of that. A couple more biles and just going to be seen still. I mean, a changeling going down. Rogue wants to kind of fight. He's on his way to double upgrades. He's starting a Nidus. He's going to stay very aggressive on this. He's doing everything, by the way. Nidus and Tumbling Claws and Burrow. Like, Rogue wants to go into, like, aggression mode. He does not want to let up the pressure. He's just going to, you know, go, go, go. Absolutely non-stop as our Roach Ravager splits up, heads around. You'll see a few overlords heading down to the bottom right as well. A couple of biles coming through here. Just going to be seeing our corrosive biles still dropping in as our Roaches continue through. And Bailey gets a nice little shot. Splash damage obviously goes a lot in this. We do walk through some biles to get down into this position. Rogue was kind of desperate to get here and to stop the kind of army from the top side kind of wrapping around him. Another Bailey from Dark. I mean, Splash does help. Obviously, Spire was never used, so these few Hydras don't really have much of a role to play, but at least they can add in a bit of DPS. It's just an investment that wasn't really necessary for Dark in the end, as he is trying to push this back, but his supply is dropping so much. He just doesn't have money to rebuild like Rogue does, and Rogue has just got 26 Roaches on the way. Meanwhile, Dark has 5 Roaches and a handful of Hydras. Dark might even still be afraid of the potential of a, Mutalisk follow-up, right? There's nothing stopping Rogue from saying, well, look, I've had 8 gases for a while. What if I just make 12 meters on the follow-up because you have like 4 Hydras? So I think this is almost like Dark saying as well, I just have to be careful of that possibility. And of course, he can then play into Lurkers from there, and that's going to be his way to try and make something happen of this, and say, well, if he doesn't have meters, I can at least make use of my Hydras. Fortunately, I'm just going to finish up. And, I mean, Dark just had no idea about this. These Roaches in high numbers just going to pour into the main. Targeting the spawning pool might not be the most effective. Dark a decent split to start with, as Rogue comes down to try and deny the gold base. Roaches continue to wrap around. Roaches will just burrow up here and actually fall back. Maybe could try and jump back in the Nidus. The Nidus in the high ground on this position just finished up, so if you got back in the Nidus, you could come through again. Although now he unburrows and he takes a good fight, the Nidus will replace itself there, giving these Roaches an out eventually as well. And we're still just walking around with slow Hydras here as Dark, and at least about to have range so they can fight from a bit further out. Obviously that Lurker Denner sat there like, well, are we going to use it? Can we afford to use it? Obviously the Hydras do not have their upgrades, being a weird game where, or a weird series where Lurkers have just not had upgrades to utilize properly. And that will be true here. I mean, the Lurker Den goes down, so 9 Lurkers coming through. No Hive, no upgrades, no Lurker Den anymore. Dark going to lean on these a lot for his defense right now, but he's playing 3 bases against the 5. I mean, that just says a lot of it anyway, right? Let's see what the Lurkers can indeed do. As Rogue collapses from the top, from the right, he's got a full surround on this. I don't think he cares so much about the Lurkers that don't have the range to be properly effective here. I just don't think it's going to matter. Rogue has mined way more in this game, has traded well enough to justify that mining more can just win the game out for him. And, I mean, he might lose these few final Ravages as he corrosive bars his way forward. The Dark is coming out worse for supply, and again, he just cannot rebuild like his opponent can. And that's the real difference between these two right now. Dark restarts the Lurker Den. Rogue just continues to make Roaches and Ravages. He's making a few drones. Might think about saturating the upper right-hand side as Nidus is back into the main base. I mean, if nothing else, that might just scare this army off to give Rogue more time to reinforce with, right? If maybe that's the idea. Maybe he really will look to use this aggressively. He probably won't get the chance. Looks like it will be denied. Looks like it won't matter because Dark just types out GG. And Rogue is going to get game number 2 on the board in this best of 7. Couple of 17-minute games, by the way, right, guys? Last game was about 17 minutes as well, if I'm not mistaken. Oh, wow. I mean, turns out the ZvZ Finals is actually pretty spicy. Pretty cool back and forth longer games. It is a 2-0 lead for Rogue, though, which means he is well on his way to a victory in this grand final. If Dark doesn't start putting a dampener on his speed or his momentum in a few moments, Rogue might just run all the way away with it. We've seen him, I mean, put it this way. He won a best of 7 against Cyril in pretty much the time it took to play one of the maps so far. The day before he played this series. So, you know, Rogue needs to be stopped a little bit. Rogue. Remember, it's Christmas. We deserve a nice long best of 7. Maybe this is Rogue's Christmas gift to us. He's like, huh? Yeah, you guys want a nice long best of 7? Well, the games can be long. I can still win 4-0, right? He's up 2-0, and honestly, I mean, that last game, I felt like he was ahead from the very get-go. I felt like the build choice was cool. He put himself in a good position. He kept himself there. It's kind of the same in game 1 for the most part. That spy, well, you know, the early game on game 1 was a bit funky, I guess, and the attack, the Ling Bane, I didn't love. But he played himself back into a good spy. I was really questioning what Dark was doing on that game again, deciding to go into, like, just not getting the lurker upgrade, staying on Hive, on Lair Tech instead of Hive. Dark in the bottom left. He actually chooses to go aggressive here on Hardwire. So these games are long, but not for lack of trying to make them short, apparently, because, I mean, this is going to be a gain of 12, pull a gas behind it. You move yourself into that early 6 Lings, and you will get yourself toward Ling speed. And it's going to be nice and aggressive here from Dark once again. I mean, it's been Rogue kind of pulling the aggressive kind of side of things so far. First game, he was the one to start flooding Lings off 31 drones. Second game, he obviously early gas pooled, while Dark tried to sneak down the gold base. Let's see what Dark has in store for us. Queen coming up. Obviously, again, this will be Ling speed starting once we hit 100 gas. Looking at the workers in gas, we're going to stay mining, so we are going to get to 50. Generally, when you hit 50, you pull one worker out of gas and use that to make your Baneling Nest, and that's just a nice balance of Baneling. A nice balance of gas income versus minerals, so you can afford kind of Ling Bane. So that's typically how you go about this. Let's see, there's the drone out of gas, makes the Baneling Nest in the background. A second now. And the feelings initially will just start on this hatchery. Now, obviously, Rogue will decide what he wants to do. He's going to put down his own Baneling Nest immediately. So he obviously, you know, you can know the timing of this. You can say, oh, well, this arrived a little bit too late to just be a normal 12 pool or so, etc. So you say, right, well, I'm going to go Baneling Nest first, Spire straight away, and he's just going to immediately make his, Spine Crawler straight away, make himself nice and safe up on this high ground. This base looks as though it's going to go down. Not too many questions to be asked there. He's going to take a decent fight and get a Ling right away, and actually Dark backs up. So Dark is not going to kill the hatchery just yet, which I find surprising. Now Lava is spawning off it, so he'll be able to make a couple more Lings. Rogue, an odd choice in a way, because now these Lings are out on the map, and they're not going to be, they're not going to be with speed. So the Lings will get speed here from Dark, then these Lings will get hunted down, and you still lose the hatchery, so I'm kind of interested. I suppose it does take the future aggression away from the base of Rogue, and so he gets a chance to morph up his own Banelings and stuff, and maybe that's his plan. Just take the fight somewhere else, but it comes at a huge cost. Costing you a lot of Zerglings, but I guess it does buy him a whole ton of time where he can continue to set up and prepare. All of those Zerglings end up going down, and, well, neither player on a hatchery just yet. Neither player on a hatchery just yet. There's a couple of Banes waddle forward. Ling setting up, a Spine Crawler going to fire in. Just going to be seeing a few Banelings hanging around on the high ground. Just setting up for the moment. Now, obviously, the question is, how do these Banelings get involved? Moving down to the low ground and so on. Well, don't really have much of an answer for that yet. That has to be a cancel, right? Oh! Well, that's how the Banes get involved. Wow, I actually thought that had to be a cancel. It will be a cancel in the end. Using the Banes to blow up the Lings obviously gets the save initially, but you just couldn't get the next Banes there in time. Okay, then. Not bad, though. Right? Not bad. A couple of Creep Teamers just pressing out as the hatchery on the natural and on both sides of the map. Setting up. So we're finally going to be going up into 2 base play. it's kind of funny because these aggressive openers that seem to just kind of elongate the early game. You know, now we are where we could have been 2 minutes ago had these two just decided to be friends from the get-go. Rogue lost a lot more in this setup because obviously he lost the hatchery, but he mined a lot more earlier. And that's the kind of balancing act that we've had. Rogue obviously a very quick lair, very intrigued to see what the hell you do with a lair that comes up that quickly. It's almost questionable as to what the heck you're going to do. I mean, you know, you might say, well, a 5-minute lair finishing isn't that wild, but when you look at what's being done in the game otherwise, that's where you've got to ask questions. That's where the lair is like, oh, like, what are you trying to get done here? You know, what is the sneaky part of this? Starts an Evo chamber at the front, makes it look like he just wants to upgrade something. Of course, that upgrade could be all sorts of things. That's an instant Spire here from Rogue, so he's going to go for really, really fast Mutalisks. Obviously, Dark was trying to scout just a few moments ago that Zerglin in the natural was not allowed up into the main. Good block with the Queen and the Ling there. A necessary block as well, because you just do not want to let that information go easily, that you're making your way in towards a fast lair, because otherwise then Dark can just deal with it, and then you kind of get set into a weird position. You're attacking that quickly, you don't do anything with it. I mean, if you pull out of the Spire right now, you've got drop down and Roach Roar, and I guess you can start your upgrade right away. But then you've got a lair that you don't have any use for. And then, of course, that's just an investment wasted, and so on and so forth. Dark starts 7, 8 roaches. Oh my. 31 drones. We're just going to roach Lingle then? Quite a bit of gas as well, so you can morph in quite a few banelings if he gets some Lings going across the map. You got a few Ravagers going, but yeah, Dark wants to put an end to this game, like, right now, which in theory should be pretty good. I mean, you're playing a situation here where that Spire is just now finishing. It's going to be a very low muta count. So even if there's mutas here, A, they're not going to be hitting these units as they come across the map. And there's only going to be like 4 of them or so. Hatchery cancel on the third base. Rogue starts more spines. The Overlord here spots the march of roaches coming across the map. He starts to kill the creep teamers so you can slow down the advance. The idea being the less creep there is, the longer it takes units to run forwards, right? So just trying to take away any advantage possible. As Rogue will also launch a small counterattack of Zerglings out around the south side. And Dark moving forward. 7 meters now on the way. Again, this is all about buying time. If you can get enough meters out and get them to start jumping on these roaches, start dealing damage, give your spines time to finish up, for example. These are all a big deal, as you see the Banes actually roll straight into the spines and queens. There's a lot of Banes, though, for just the spines. I would have liked to see a couple go towards the mineral line, get some drones. Now our roaches already feel like they're hurting a little bit. As they get into the main, they'll start to get some drone kills here. Remember that on the back of this, Dark has to defend against Mutalisks, right? So he's almost always going to take damage of his own back at home. And that's why you kind of want to get some real damage done right now. The Lings might be the saving grace, because the Lings might just be the one thing that actually can pick away quite a few drones before they get cleaned up. Of course, more Lings might be the answer as well. You can see Dark is spamming them. The idea is if you keep spamming Zerglings right now, you can basically stop the mutas from attacking you, because the mutas can't come across the map if your Lings are in his base, because the mutas have to stay at home and defend. So it buys you a lot of time where you can defend without building spores and so on. I mean, just now as spore starts, additional round of queens on the way. But yeah, these mutas have to stay at home defensively, and that means that Dark is getting himself a lot of time. He actually does split the mutas, but obviously if it's only a handful of mutas compared to the full force, it's not as scary. You still have kind of more time to set up and really start managing this properly. So I like that. I like that a lot. It's going to be seeing more Lings just sneaking out. The +1 flyer attack upgrade coming in on the Spire now. Smoke roll already gets picked up. Again, +1 flyer attack still coming through. Mita's going to go towards a few Zerglings there, and just going to be seen now again. +1 flyer attack upgrade on the Spire. Setting up at the moment. Mutas want to try and go after the Overlord. Obviously, that's one of the benefits of having these mutas on the map. We're just going to clean up a whole bunch of Ovies. That's a lot of money that Dark has to spend responding to it. It's, again, an interesting situation. I like all these Lings. It's kept Rogue off of a third base for quite some time. It's kept a lot of the mutas at home. He now deems it safe enough to send his mutas on the map in full. I mean, there's still Lings on the map, so if you want to take that third base, you've got to think carefully about it. As Rogue down a base at the moment, playing the mutas. Well, Let's see what he can do. A few Banes are going to try and roll into this mineral line, and gets a catch for at least 6 drones, right? Yep, just going to get all of them there in the end. That were clumped, and that was 6. Queens tried to play with the Spore Crawler against the Mutas, and Dark's still up by about 8 workers, and of course, Rogue can't really drone much more than he's already droned because of the current situation. Now, these Banes are just going to crash in, and suddenly you've got a big run by into Rogue's base. I mean, these Banelings don't even know where to go. The main base already, the natural already seems like freebie kills, so why not just head into the main and try and get a blast on a few more drones? He's going to find a stack in the back, 9, 10 drones killed already, make it 11 and 12. And remember, this is all happening while Rogue was already down on workers. Looks like Dark, he said, yeah, you're right, Wardy. We do need to put a stop to Rogue's momentum in this series, because if we don't, he might be in a crap ton of trouble. And he is absolutely adjusting and looking like he might take this game, which is obviously very good news. I love his position right now. I believe he's got the Mutas pretty well controlled. He's getting a good amount of spores up. His Queen count is comfortable. The Muta count is only at 9, so it's not like it's completely ludicrous either and completely insane. Rogue does have more army supply in this very moment as he comes across the map to fight. Is that going to be the downfall of Dark? A fight right now, is it going to be enough for Rogue as Roaches fight Roaches? Queen support, and they do have the transfusions to help the Roaches out as well. Dark will lose a couple ovies, just gaps in his defense where spores don't hang around. And he'll reposition a little bit to try to deal with it, but more Roaches pouring out. I mean, Dark can now just hold down the ARB key, right, and just spam Roaches himself, and that means that he can build way more than Rogue can, and hence he should get into a better spot. He is down an upgrade, though. Dark never got +1 missiles, something that Rogue did find himself building into here, so as Rogue flies in there with the Mutas, he does kill off an Overlord. Takes that away, and +2 missiles coming up from Rogue now on the natural Evo chamber. Hatchery building up on the 3rd base. A few of these Roaches still continue now down to the south. And just figuring out what exactly they would like to do here. Fly in, get themselves another creep team or anything to slow Dark down. Rogue finally going to have a 3rd base to play with, so finally find his way back in that regard. Dark with his own Spire. I wonder if Dark's logic here is, hey, look, I'm on 6 gases, and if I just end up making Mutas, I can just out-Mutalisk you. You know, if I can just make like 12 Mutas at once, then boom, I'm in a good spot. That said, funny thing is, Rogue has a lot of gas himself, and I guess the idea is eventually to morph Ravages, but if he's like, oh, Spire versus Spire, Muta versus Muta, then he can obviously make a lot of Mutas himself. Obviously, the other option for Dark is to make Corruptors, so he has an answer in the skies, and he can just push with Roach Corruptor, and more or less look to put an end to the game. That might be overall the safer option. I think that's a little bit more of the more typical way to do this, and be like, I'm gonna out-Mutalisk you! Because obviously he's having some gas issues here as well. These Mutas finding an opening, cancelling this gas now, killing it once, cancelling it again. Just makes that a little bit annoying for sure. Well, comes back up the left-hand side, working his way back around to the center. +2 missiles on the way now from Rogue. He's starting up a Hydra Den here and an Infestation, but did he see the Spire of his opponent, or is he just thinking about going Lurkers? He's just thinking about going Lurkers. He's content with the contain he has from the Mutas and says, cool, I can tech up into Lurkers here. It is going to be Mutas from Dark, by the way. I love it. I actually think it's really neat. Now, he's going to be behind a Flyer attack upgrade, which is why it's important he really does like outmass his opponent in the sky if he wants to take the Muta fight. But he's actually making a lot of Roaches with this as well. He's going to max out. I guess he's just going to go Muta Roach versus Muta Roach. That's kind of funny that he's just going to try and match his opponent in the skies and on the ground. Well, he's going to overwhelm on the ground. Although he is down the upgrade, right? He's only got +1 missiles. So, Dark, if you're going to do this, I mean, it's got to be sooner rather than later, because as time ticks by and Rogue gets more units on the map, he is going to have that upgrade advantage. Now, of course, that said, Rogue is building Hydras, and I'm not sure they are exactly what you need against this swarm of Roaches. They might be what you need against this flock of Mutalisks, which is growing higher and higher. So, funnily enough, in that regard, Rogue is building up nicely. I actually think Dark is just set to go with the Roach army anyway. If he just goes, he's going to be in an okay place now. The Mutas are still stacking. There's 4 more to join in, but that's pretty much it, right? I mean, you do not have a lot of free supply anymore, so you can't really be waiting around any longer. This gets no better for you unless you start trading out units. The Mutas stack up. What's the count at 15? 18 when the last few come in. Like I say, moving across the map, Rogue might actually make Lurkers, by the way. If he makes Lurkers as the Lurker Den's done, okay, he will not because he sees the Mutalisk. So now he's thinking to himself, well, I've just made Hydralisks, right? Like, what a great day to be me. I just made Hydras. They are obviously going to be able to just deal with these Mutas to some extent. I mean, Wasn't that fortunate. As you do see the question asked, though, are there going to be enough Hydras? The first 3 going down there, and we're going to turn around for a Queen and a Spore that's building. So the meter's absolutely going to come in and keep active. I mean, a few of these meters are going down, don't get me wrong, but a lot of Hydras are going down. These Roaches obviously are just sitting ducks as well. And these meters continue to do very well as Rogue just tries to spam out Hydralis. He knows he can't win the meter war. He knows he probably can't just build more meters. But he probably could have done if he just assumed that Dark was going to go into Roaches. Because that would have been nice, right? You win the meter war, and then you have meters against his Roaches as well. His meters are going to start hitting Roaches as they come across the map. Now we're going to actually kill that Roach Warren here for Rogue. So he can't make Roaches of his own in response to this. It's just too many Roaches, man. Look at this army. I don't care if you've got +2 missiles, Rogue. I don't think it makes enough of a difference right now. I feel like Rogue had a tough time knowing what was really coming his way, because if he knew this was happening and that Dark was no longer building meters, he really could have just made a few more meters, dealt with the meters because he already killed a few via that Queens and Hydras, and then maybe, I mean, I guess he only killed a few extra because he was still building more Hydras in a way as well. So I guess in that regard, I may be kind of saying something that it couldn't have really happened. Fun stuff. Really fun game. I'm enjoying it, guys. Fun series. This ZvZ. Another longer game. Just shy of 15 minutes here as Rogue and Dark is going to go to a 2-1 scoreline. Rogue is not going to run away and sweep this ZvZ series. So let's be very thankful for that. What goes down is in the top left-hand corner on Berlingrad. Our red Zerg player here is going to be Rogue. Of course, taking on in the bottom right-hand side, the blue Zerg player Dark. Map number 4. Let's see if we see another cool long game. I mean, these have been, not ultra long, and we're not talking about like 25, 30 minutes of like lurkers camping out and trying to break each other, but 15 plus minutes, 3 times or so now. I mean, last game was just less than 15 minutes, but around 15 minutes each time so far is pretty reasonable, to be fair. So it's been pretty enjoyable. As you just see our drones continuing through. On either side, we'll see a gas coming up initially from Rogue. So he's going to go gas pool before hatchery. And so Rogue is once again maybe going to try and bring a bit of trickery to the series. Dark, he brought the trickery last time with a very early pool and gas. He's just going to be hatchery firsting. So gas pool and then the hatch behind this from Rogue. Now, Dark, obviously, when this overlord gets across the other side, we'll see the hatchery being later. So you'll have a rough idea, well, it's not a super early pool, because of how would you still have the hatchery this quickly? But knows it's at least a pool first. It's kind of hard to tell if it's a gas pool hatch, though, right? I think that part especially is, specifically is difficult to figure out. I mean, Dark should know to be fairly cautious of what happens here early. There's definitely, obviously, potential for Rogue to be a little bit ferocious off this opening. He goes Ling Speed and he stays in gas, so he's going to get up to a Baneling Nest as well. Okay, then I'm really scared as Dark. If I'm Dark right now, I wonder if it's actually just worth going Baneling Nest first. Rogue did it in that last game as well. It might just be worth going Baneling Nest first. The Banelings work well defensively because you don't have to wait for example, Ling Speed to finish to get use out of it. The Bane Nest is just done. Bane's more thin. Looks like we will go Ling Speed initially, and never mind the Baneling Nest first idea, Wardy. And Dark, you are going to start Ling Speed, right? We're going to do something with our gas, otherwise this might get a little bit wonky. Dark, what are we going to do with our gas, buddy? 150? Okay, Rogue is starting to make Lings, and Dark is not doing anything. And he's just banking gas. He's still mined with 3 workers on gas as well. Building drones? Maybe he just thinks that Rogue was being safe, because it is a short map, so maybe he was just assuming Rogue was being safe against like a potential 12 pull. Maybe thinking Dark would 12 pull drone pull. And if that's the case, maybe he doesn't realize that Ling Speed's about to finish, because he's on his way to a lair, a Roach-Ron. He's going to start walling off, but he doesn't have a ton of money to continue walling either, and that's not a complete wall, so that has to be a Queen that slips in there. Okay, there's one Evo Chamber that fits in behind. I think he really read this as it was just like a pool first opening, and he was just playing very safe against like a 12 pool or so. He wasn't expecting the speed, but it looks like it might be okay. He does get the wall up. It doesn't look as though that's something that Rogue can break at this point in time. The Rogue also has 260 gas in the bank, so he's going to spam roaches at the next step of this. And he is going to get very aggressive. Dark does start his lair, so making use of some of that gas. Starts +1 missiles. These are all things, of course, that Rogue is not investing into. Alongside the fact he's also not making these 4 additional drones that Dark is making. As Rogue is just going units, units, and guess what? Even more units. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Dark, I mean, I actually don't know if we can survive this attack. Rogue is even waiting, by the way. He's waiting for all of the roaches so he doesn't, like, reveal a couple. He wants this to be seen as late as possible, and then everything arrives at around the same time. Oh no, Dark doesn't have any vision dead center on the map. He's realizing it as well. He's moving over here. He's going to just see a roach. Just by the skin of his teeth see a roach. I mean, that was one of the closest scouts he could have had. Is it going to be enough for him to actually get the defense off? He's going to re-roll with the Evo Chamber. Oh, man. 3 spines coming up. Here come the roaches arriving from Rogue as he's coming knocking on this door, looking to take a 3rd nap in this series, which would put him on match point. Evo Chamber gets knocked down. The Lings are going to come streaming in. Drones are going to pull. The Spine Crawlers on ready. Dark might have seen it late. Or seen it just, but he saw it late. The drones die so quickly. The drone count's already evened out. Rogue's already in a great position. If this attack just disappeared right now, Rogue's still in a great spot because the drone count's even. And of course, his army's not going to disappear without trading even more so before it's all done, right? Dark even cancels his +1 missiles, try to get as many roaches going as possible, but he's now down 4 workers, and Rogue just... Yeah, you see it late, right? So he just saw it, but he saw it just so late on a short map like Berlingrad, even shorter when those minerals are mined out in the center. It was like the last roach that was coming out that he saw too. And hence Dark is going to give up a map number 4. And hence, we are on a point now where it's match point in favor of Rogue. He might win this entire tournament. It always was Christmas tradition for me, in a way, to still turn my stream on Christmas Day, you know? I always love streaming, you know? For me, it's obviously, it's a job. And not every day do I want to do my job, but, you know, some days I want to take a break. But I always felt on Christmas, I was like, one of the things I'm happiest doing is taking a chill day, casting and just chilling out and casting a few games. I thought this was a nice way to kind of compromise for the first year. I'm probably not going to be able to obviously do it live because I just won't have the time. Maybe I probably could have streamed for like an hour and a half or something, but I wanted to really do like a nice chunky little stream for y'all. So I thought this was a good compromise. So yeah, hopefully you're all having a good day. Hopefully you've all enjoyed the games and the matches so far. Hopefully this will not be the end. Obviously it's our first time where Rogue is on tournament point, and so it is our first chance that this is the last game of the day. Well, let's hope not. Like I say, hopefully you guys get a little bit more StarCraft out of this. Hopefully Dark brings it back to a 7-game grand finals. Fingers crossed. And all the rest. It's like we're kind of back to a pretty regular startup, right? I mean, talking about a hatch, gas, and pool on either side of the map. Very similar to what we saw in Glitter and Ashes in map number 1. Very standard here so far, nothing really too crazy. Wondering if this is just going to lead us into a little bit of Ling Bane versus Ling Bane. So you set this up, Overlord. Heading up the left-hand side. Overlord of Rogue, heading down to the south side. So we're just coming through, just going to have a little check-in as to what's going on. A couple queens coming up from both sides of this as well. And seeing how this will continue onwards. Drone coming through here. Overlord setting up. So far so good, nothing really all that wild just yet. To continue onwards. Yeah, very standard. Kind of intrigued just to see again when that 3rd hatchery is going to come down on both sides of this, of course. That will be one of the more interesting parts. And just see if there's any divergence between the two of them there. There's a 3rd drone moving out, and yep, it's going to be at the exact same time. So after all of the craziness that's happened so far in this matchup, in this series, we're still going to go back to an opening which between the two of them is pretty regular. Just looking to be a bit of Ling Bane on either side. We'll see. I mean, obviously possible one player skips the Baling Nest and just makes that swell of Lings, puts the pressure on the other side of the map, and then you go straight to the Roaches. Not going to be the case. We both drop down a Baneling Nest, so yeah, just straight into Ling Bane versus Ling Bane. And I suppose then the question becomes, which of these guys becomes the aggressor. It's very rare for ZvZ in Korea to go kind of just hatch gas pool versus hatch gas pool, up to 3 bases. Nobody's doing anything crazy, yada, yada, yada. It's not very common for that to happen in the first place. Even less common for Ling Bane versus Ling Bane to not just suddenly have a player who goes, let's stop droning and let's, make a ton of Lings. That happens almost every time. It happened from Rogan the first time, right? And it looks like it might be Dark this time. He's making a few more Lings here. Obviously, 32 drones versus 33. Evo Chamber coming up on the side of Rogue just a little faster than it does for Dark. Dark back into drones of his own, so no, it really is just going to be kind of, I drone, you drone. We're both going to make Lings and Banes, but not to a huge amount, mostly just to have a space line ready to go, so I can already have Banes morphin if you start moving across the map aggressively. Rogue is going to opt for a Carapace upgrade early, as that's a great Ling sneaking in. It's going to get full scout of the main base. It just says, okay, cool, no Roach Roaring hidden away here. Not looking to do any kind of sneaky Roach Rolling on me. Nice scout from Dark, as he is being chased away with an Overlord over on this side. Looks as though that might go down, taking the Queen for a good long walk. No, the Queen doesn't want to go that far out, afraid of the Lings and Ling speed on the map. So is going to pull back, and our Overlord survives. Gets off his Leech and runs away. Now we're going to see a lot of Ling Bane from Dark. Roach Roaring behind it as he starts a missile upgrade. 37 drones versus the 41, as Rogue is obviously starting to make his own Ling Bane. A couple of Banelings here defensively coming through. And again, the main difference we've got to talk about as well is going to be those upgrades. +1 missiles versus +1 Carapace. Carapace really means you're going to focus on kind of a Ling Roach style, whereas the missiles generally just means you're going to focus more so on the Roaches. Well, Bane sneak into the natural mineral line. Dark is going to force Rogue to start splitting here, and how many drones can he hit? He's going to hit 2 on the high ground. He will finish those off for a couple Lings as well. Not the best. I mean, it's obviously lost mining time too when those drones pull back and split away. As Lings are going to continue forward and look to kind of float on into this. A couple of Banelings just continuing to connect right now. Another Baneling connects quite nicely. I'm just going to be seeing a few Zerglings of Rogue up into the center. +1 missiles coming through. A few Roaches getting into play. The Lair on the way along here from Dark as well. I'm just going to be seeing our Zerglings. All just going to come around this left-hand side and figure out what they would like to do. These extra Banes will morphing in from Rogue as well, as just getting those going. Rallying out down to the south side. Banes wandering around. Banelings coming around, seeing what's up. Extra Lings of Dark out over on the right as well, just getting active too. A couple of extractors coming up on either side of this, so all of this continuing along at the moment. It's going to be seeing a few extra Lings coming through, and that's going to be a little connection there. Baneling blowing up. A few Banelings going off on Zerglings so far, and just having our extra drones coming in. Extractors coming on in as well. And just seeing now a whole round of Zerglings out to the far left-hand side. See Rogue looking for maybe a bit of a push into that third base. Doesn't really commit through to much. Game cells down here on 2,000 atmospheres. A couple more Banelings, but that really should be the last of it for now. Oh, that was 6 drones. Wow. That was more explosive than I thought. There is Rogue's tech choice, by the way, as well. He's going to start making a Spire. So as Rogue goes into a Spire, we'll see Dark on +2 missiles and a Roach speed. Continuing through with those upgrades. Pneumatized Carapace coming up as well. A few Lings come around. One Baneling is traded out for there as well. As now Dark brings more Lings back up to the upper right-hand side. Roach is doing decently, picking away at a few Zerglings as well. So across the board, a job pretty well done. Dark has established himself a worker lead. He's on his way to good upgrades. He just needs to find out about the Spire. It's in the back of the main. He doesn't have anything immediately nearby. No Overseers on the map either, I believe. So a little bit in the dark. He sees these Roaches moving across too, which might just encourage him to keep building Roaches and not worry about what tech might be coming behind this. But that, of course, could cost you quite dearly if you're not careful. If you're not ready for these mutas, they can absolutely throw a spanner in the works and really put a halt to everything that's been so good for you up until this point. It comes out Overseer, you can see immediately Queens are pulling. They want to encourage this Overseer to turn away, say, no, you don't want to see our base. It's really good scouting denial. Every second you stop this Spire being seen is more and more damage you're pretty much guaranteeing, as now we see a Spire down from Dark. Oh, well, with +2 missiles, I mean, is it gonna be? Is he gonna plan to actually go for this overseer down the right side? We'll see the Spire. I mean, let's see. I mean, he sees the mutas now as well. Is he gonna stick to the Spire or is he gonna cancel it? He can cancel and go Hydra Den if he doesn't believe in it, but if he's going to go Spire now, I'm pretty sure you're gonna go into Corruptors. There's no way you just build more mutas because it's just too risky. I think you gotta go Corruptors. I think what he tried to do on Hardwire, I mean, it worked that time. I just don't know if it works this time at this sort of a timing where you're like, oh yeah, just hope he stops building them. I feel like these mutas are going to be active enough to realize what's going on. Let's find out as we do see one of them is going to go down, so an initial kill. I mean, maybe if you get a few kills on these mutas, which he's going to get another one, maybe you can go into mutas against this. And I don't hate it anywhere near as much, but here come the mutas, and they're going to scout the Spire right. Yep, they see it. Now I'm pretty sure you have to go Corruptors because you just can't outmass your opponent on Mutalisks. Let's see if Dark agrees with me. Obviously, yeah, Roach Corruptor is kind of an aggressive style of play. You generally are somewhat all in with it because as time passes by, you see immediately Rogue starts more mutas, right? He will not be out-muted, and okay, we are going to go mutas as well. Never mind, I was going to explain Roach Corruptor, but I don't need to. I was not convinced Dark was going to do this. I think what he did last time was a little bit trickier. It was a lot kind of, longer in setting up. Hit a lot later. This time he's just straight up going to say, yeah, I can catch up on the mutas. Well, let's see if you can do it, Dark. I mean, it's going to be 14 versus 11 to begin with. Hydra coming down from Rogue. Rogue, who is about to be +2/+1 against just +2. Ground upgrades are still important to consider because it's very likely with mutas, when you've got roaches on the map, that it's going to be mutas fighting overhead, but there will still be roach fights happening on the ground, so those upgrades will matter, and they will favor Rogue. As both these players will max out, Rogue's going to be doing so of 9 additional workers, so the usual comparison of he'll have more economy and more bank building up, so he can replace a lot more, but of course his opponent will have a lot more units right away, and so obviously the idea is you can trade better because you've got more units. Rogue will look to offset that with some defensive positioning. He's just going to start fighting here. Obviously the Queens can come in to try and help the mutas. Transfusions might help as well. There's a couple Hydras coming through. It's honestly just a mess of a ZvZ fight. Roaches, mutas, and everything. Hard to tell exactly what's going on anywhere. It's a 3 Mutalisk lead for Dark. A 3 Roach lead from Dark. That's going to change a little bit as units pop out. And, I mean, even Muta's still being brought into play from Rogue. He's trying to stay somewhat competitive in the skies. And he's also adding in those Hydras. And he's getting that Infestation Pit up. It's funny because I feel like what Dark has done is basically allowed Rogue to say, right, I just get a few Hydras. They're going to improve my army. And then I have a few Hydras. And you still have a Roach force good enough to kind of take you down. Because it's not like I've just built Hydras out of nowhere. I've built Hydras for a reason because you've invested into mutas yourself. And now all of a sudden, Rogue is actually going to find a Ravager as well. Dark's mutas were not nearby. And Rogue is the one finding freebie damage, even though he's on 1 less Mutalisk. He's already on the way to Lurker Den too. So now Dark suddenly finds himself behind. His own Hydra Den is going to be on the way up. It's kind of funny because what I'm gaining from this is like last game, like it sounds kind of dumb, but it's almost like the resolution of the last 2 games are gonna be mutas suck versus other mutas. It's like this time Dark's mutas have kind of sucked because of other mutas, and the last game I guess Rogue's mutas sucked because of other mutas, and yeah, I don't know. It just kind of I was just trying to think of a way to summarize this. I say last game, I mean the previous muta game, of course. I'm referring to Hardwire. The last game, Berlingrad, was a shorter one. It's already slipped my memory in favor of the muta map. Yeah, kind of a bit of a crazy situation. As you're gonna see these few mutas riding around the right-hand side. A few mutas in the center as well. Roach Ravager will hold out on the far left, and just gonna be seeing an additional lurker coming up as well. Hive on the way into the main as the mutas will come through. An Overlord or an Overseer being picked away at, and just gonna be seeing the Lurker Den continuing into the main. Just get one more Queen, and still is going to be seeing these Hydras coming through, hitting the mutas quite a bit as they run around a couple different directions. Queen pushes the Hydras mutas back a little bit. This is kind of wonky because now you're losing your mutas as Dark, and the mutas of Rogue are just over here killing units as he initiates a Roach fight. 2 carapace upgrade difference on the ground. About to be narrowed down by an upgrade, but man, the fact that Lurkers are already getting upgrades from Rogue. I mean, first of all, the fact Lurkers are getting upgrades. How many times do we see not fully upgraded Lurkers in the action in this series today. It honestly has been a bit of a wacky ZvZ, right? I think it's fair to say it's been a good bit of fun. I've enjoyed it. Feels like it's been a bit crazy, and I've liked it a lot, actually. It's been very enjoyable. Best of 7 so far, and I also love that we've had some obviously longer games mixed in with it as well. Lurkers are continuing through. +3 missiles and +3 carapace coming up on the Evo chambers there as Roaches and Lurkers press forward. Obviously now you're in this position where you don't have as many Hydras because you morphed in a lot of Lurkers. What's the meter count out? There's still 10 meters from Rogue. He actually is up against only 7 meters of Dark, so he could actually fight that meterless count right now. There's only a couple Lurkers from Dark as well, and he doesn't have Hive, so he doesn't have the better upgrades. Massive counterattack from Dark, though. Going to move up the right-hand side, going to start working into this base. Drones are going to be in trouble right away. Some of these Roaches split off toward the natural. Up this ramp we try to go, but Corrosive Biles are going to turn those Lurkers away as well. As Roaches will get rid of a Queen. The Lurker says no, pushes that back also. And these Roaches over here, I mean, Mutas are going to start defending it, but how quickly, how much damage is done before then? As Rogue has lost 26 drones, by the way, but his army supply is ginormous. I mean, 153 to about 80 as these Roaches continue down. So Dark is up 30 workers or so. Rogue is up 70 army supply, and if he just moves across the map and fights, well, how many Lurkers does Dark have? 8? Okay, it's respectable as we actually burrow up here. Well, Rogue just has more, and he's going to force the Lurkers back a little bit initially. Continuing to engage in. His Lurkers obviously have that extra range too, and now Rogue, the army value here, the size of that army, starting to come into play. Spores on the way up as the Mutas are just kind of controlling a little bit of this as well, and Dark just doesn't have what he needs. Rogue is going to take it down with this engagement, and Rogue is going to be the champion of the WardiTV Christmas Day Games 2021. I guess just fitting that he comes out and wins another tournament, huh? And 4-1. Honestly, the games were not very rogue-like. You know, Rogue in the finals, I think, fast, quick, dirty, unexciting. These games were fun, different, interesting, completely off the beaten path of usual ZvZ. Some weird decisions on both sides and a lot of differing builds to keep the series very fun. Start to finish. GG's. Rogue is the champ. GG's, well played, and congratulations to him for taking home the $700 first place prize. Not bad for what was for him, you know, about 3.5, 4 hours of playing the games. He just got to play his games back to back to back, of course, when we had these played. So not a bad payday for him in the slightest.